completely transparent. So the total package here comes to roughly $6 trillion, $2 trillion direct assistance, roughly $4 trillion in Federal Reserve lending power. Again, it'll be the largest Main Street financial package in the history of the United States. Liquidity and cash for families, small business, individuals, unemployed, to keep this thing going. We're heading for a rough period, but it's only going to be weeks, we think. Weeks, months, not going to be years. That's for sure.
For sure.
Hopefully
Thank
pave
God.
the way for continued economic recovery after this crisis.
Wow, guys. Did I hear that right? $6 trillion stimulus. That's 12 zeros. $6 trillion. We got a lot to unpack. First off, welcome to Liberate Your Money, episode 18. That's right, I had to change the name. Originally it was Bitcast, and I'm changing it to Liberate Your Money for a couple reasons. For one, it sounds cool, and I think it exemplifies what we're kind of talking about is how we can liberate our money. And two, I found out that there was multiple people that already had used Bitcast as their podcast name. So I felt like the loser because I used it after them, so I kind of felt like the one that had to change. So I decided to change it. Moving along. So yeah, last time I did a video analyzing Bitcoin, we were still hanging around like the $8,000-9,000 area, and then coronavirus hit, and all markets just basically fell out of their ass, and there was a liquidity crisis. Basically, our economy shut down. I mean, people aren't working. People are trying to get as much cash as possible. They call that a liquidity crisis, where everybody's selling everything. I mean, from gold, silver, Bitcoin, traditional market stocks, everything sold off. So there was no really safe haven in all of this, but White House just announced $6 trillion stimulus package to help boost the economy during all this. And I can't even describe how perfect of a scenario this is. Like, this is why Bitcoin was created. It was created to be a hedge against a irresponsible central banking system. I mean, these guys have no clue what they're doing here. They're announcing the $6 trillion package like it's no big deal, just saying, oh, we hope it's only going to last this to keep this thing going. I mean, listen to this guy talk. They're trying to keep this ship rolling because it's benefiting the rich more than anyone else. When they say a $6 trillion package, he said $4 trillion, going to the markets. I mean, big business in Wall Street's going to get the bulk of that. Then the $2 trillion is going to go to, us in some form of monetary, $1,000, $2,000 check, depending on your situation. But $6 fucking trillion, pardon my French. This is absolutely ridiculous, man. This is what Bitcoin is created for. I'm going to revisit this Travis Kling tweet. He tweeted this yesterday. What's happening right now in this instant is the largest monetary experiment in human history. Nothing else humans have ever done with money even comes close to this size. Without exception, in every instance, when something this close was even attempted, it ended in financial collapse. And I think, now that we're seeing the Fed starting to print really ridiculous amounts of money, and on 60 Minutes on Sunday, they had the Fed chair saying of Minneapolis, he was on there and he was basically saying that the Fed had infinite reserves, in their arsenal to combat whatever financial crisis we have. And it's like, how long can we go just printing money? Like we see all these other smaller countries, Venezuela, all these other, smaller countries where they've tried, these quantitative easing tactics, UBI, and just straight up giving people money and businesses money. It's like, you're not creating, real value. You're not, and that's the thing with our GDP and our economy and how fake it's been. Our GDP is not a really good measure of an economy because, the markets that we've created that produce a lot of the wealth in our economy are all synthetic, and they're not real returns. They're just like, leveraged assets, creating money out of thin air, and like, using debt and creating these side markets, and then like we get these numbers that tell us that we're making, our GDP's going higher. It's like, yeah, but we're not like generating real wealth, and like median income isn't going up, and like all these other factors we can measure that actually tell us a better story versus like GDP. But yeah, it's absolutely insane. We've never seen anything like this. People have never messed with this amount of, like, people like Travis describes. People have been doing funny things with money for a really long time, and we've never seen anybody with this amount of power, this amount of money within their hands, and they're trying to do everything they can to keep this ship going. And I just don't know how long that's going to last. I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to last, and that's kind of what led me to Bitcoin. Is it's a decentralized, global, immutable store of value, and it's digital. It can't be confiscated. You don't have to worry about a central banking system inflating it away. We know the supply schedule. We know the monetary policy of it. It's never going to change, and when it does change, we know that it's coming. It blows my mind like how perfect the narrative is for Bitcoin, when central banks literally just an hour ago announced that they're going to print a $6 trillion stimulus package for the people and these businesses and yada yada yada. And it's just insane, man. This backdrop for Bitcoin, I just can't even believe it. So let's head over to the Bitcoin chart, because we got a lot to unpack. Last time I did a video, we were up here and we're flirting with this level up here, which is a major level, and then we just fell off a cliff. We dropped all the way down to about $3,800 back into this liquidity pool when we bottomed in early 2019. And I got the 200. This is the weekly chart, and I've got the weekly 200 moving average. And as you can see, we basically bounced right off of it. The wick, we did not last long. Not within 24 hours, we were back up, and we're still going up. And I made this chart. I'm just going to show you guys. I think this is a plausible range here. We've got a high up here. You can consider this top right here a deviation when we peaked in the major bull run of 2017. Consider that a deviation. I think this level is more important, because if we look over here, that's where we topped out. We never got above it. We retested it, came back down into this channel, and then we finally broke out, and then we had the black swan event. This COVID virus, this coronavirus. Bitcoin is on the path. The halving happens in May of this year, sometime around here. We were on the path to, pumping into the halving, and then the coronavirus hit and sent us packing below this range into the liquidity pool down here. And now we're back above this mid-range. This is the mid-range level, which, if you see, this level is all the way dating back to 2017, October of 2017. So this is like a 3-year trend line, 2.5 year, we'll call it. And you can see how many times we've reacted to it. It's been multiple times that we've reacted to it. We bounced off it, we fell through it, tested it, got above it, then we fell through it, and now we're above it. And as you can see, we spent most of our time in the upper channel in the past 2 years. And the times that we got below it, when we capitulated after this long bear market, we finally capitulated, bounced off the 200, the weekly 200. That's why it's so important with traders. They know the weekly 200, and investors, that this is an important level, which is why I think we're seeing the bounce here. And we came down, blew past it, and now we're already back above it, and we're testing the high of this channel that we were in. And I'm under the impression that I think we're probably going to range. I think it would be logical if we ranged in this area for a while. I don't know how long. I don't know if we will in fact range here, but I think it would make sense considering that when we bounced, we actually made it all the way back up into this liquidity pool, back up into this resistance level, major resistance here. Excuse me. I would think that this liquidity pool right here, coinciding with the bottom of these candles, not the wicks, but the actual candles themselves, I'm thinking that this is a good level to buy down here if we were to ever start making our way back down. Now granted, we're testing this level again. As you can see, we wicked up here, came back down, now we're back into this area, major resistance. I'm assuming we're probably going to get rejected and at least come back down and test this mid-range, this dotted line. If not, I could be totally wrong. This thing could go up and test this 8K area, you know, maybe the bottom is 7.8, 7.7. I don't know, with the halving coming, I mean, there's just a lot of bullishness, and with the Fed just printing unlimited money, like, I feel like Bitcoin is just super bullish right now, even though that we just had this, what was it, 50% drop in price. You know, it was like, yeah, 60% drop in a matter of, 3 weeks. And now, from the bottom, we're up 75%. Up 75% from the bottom. That's pretty bullish. I mean, I know the SPX isn't up that much from the bottom. I mean, even relative to Bitcoin, I don't think it's doing as well. But like I said, I like this range here. The high for the range, clear around that 11.5 area. Mid-range, you can see it's a major level for us, and we tested it. We blew past it, got shut down back below it, and then when this closed on the weekly, then we shot up. This week has been mega bullish. And I honestly don't know if we'll ever see these levels again, but I gotta think with everything going on with the coronavirus, the economy, most places are shut down, states, every day you hear more and more states shutting down, the non-essential businesses. People are hurting. It's terrible times. I mean, it sucks that the coronavirus has put our economy in this situation, but I honestly believe that even with this situation, we shouldn't be hurting this hard or hurting this bad. And I think we're hurting this bad is because we're so tied to these financial markets, and we're so debt driven, and we're so in the hole with fake assets and debt, and just, I think our society needs a cleanse of that whole mindset, that whole, we're just so over leveraged, and these markets are so frail and feeble. And same with these large companies. I did a blog post, talking about big business bailouts and how they're immoral, and how it basically creates monopolies and creates these cronyistic big business government relationships with our politicians. And then you hear today, like, this stimulus package, they said $2 trillion is going to go immediately to the citizens. Well, the other $4 trillion is going to, like, big business and Wall Street, and to saving these markets that they've created, these bogus ass markets that are over leveraged and shouldn't even exist in the first place. It's some shady shit, man. It's just, I don't think this thing's gonna go on much longer. And I've been trying to tell my family and friends this for a long time, and it's half the reason I created this podcast, is because I want people to really think about the money, because that's where it all starts. And if we can liberate our money, we can save ourselves from a lot of this fuckery of a small group of people controlling the money supply, and giving bailouts to immoral businesses that don't take care of their own balance sheets. If they're in the negative or they can't handle a shock and economic downturn, we don't get bailouts, individuals and small businesses, and we shouldn't expect to. I mean, we should be able to save some of our equity in times of strife, in times of, you can't expect times to always be good. We strive for greatness, but we're not always going to be there. Markets breathe just like, life. It's like a roller coaster. We have our ups and downs, but when they go down, they don't need to be this down, and we don't need to have this financial system that feels like it needs to support everybody. We just need to be more real about our money and our assets, and not, create this fake economy based on debt and all this other shit. We need to price things realistically, and we need to get back to, scarce and provably scarce and moral assets, and it all starts with the money. And that's why I fell in love with Bitcoin. That's why I created this podcast, and that's why we love to look at the chart and hope for a better future, right? So yeah, this is the I'm gonna be on the lookout for this range. Honestly, I think this range might play out where we just bounce around in here for a little while, and then eventually, if we get a close above this area here, this 7.2, 7.5 area, if we can get a nice weekly close above that, I mean, leading into the halving, with the narrative of all this money printing, I mean, I don't know, guys. I mean, this thing could just, we could be right back to where we were, that 9, 10K. I wouldn't put it past me. But at the same time, I gotta feel like the economy is still in the shitter. A lot of people are being laid off. We're in harsh economic times right now. People are still getting sick. Hospitals are getting overrun, and like, this is where our priority needs to be, and we need to be sending these people money. I don't think people need to be. I think a stimulus package is absolutely necessary, but like, it's our money spending has gotten out of control, and honestly, that's why Bitcoin was created. And I'm hoping that people catch on to the fuckery created by the Federal Reserve and governments, and how they've created this big business government relationship, and they bail each other out. And honestly, you hear about Jeff Bezos and all these other major CEOs selling off all their stock 2 months before we have this economic disaster, and then these same companies are asking for bailouts, to save their employees and all this and that. And it's like, man, you just banked, you just sold the peak of the market, and now your company's in strife and you're asking for bailouts. It's like, it just doesn't even make sense to me. Like, I'm sorry, like, maybe they need to use some of that money, that capital that they got from selling some of their stock, and reinvest it in their company. But once it goes public, then technically, they probably don't give a shit about it. All they care about is pumping the stock and getting whatever they can out of it, But anyways, so I'm looking for this range. I think we're going to bounce around down here. I think it's, with the economic downturn, I can't imagine that a ton of people are going to have a ton of money to throw at a speculative asset like Bitcoin. But again, with an asterisk, our money is speculative right now. The USD is speculative, as we're printing trillions of dollars in economic crisis. So I'm being careful in everything I buy right now. I mean, including Bitcoin, just because I don't know where this thing's gonna go. Obviously, when I seen this dip, I've been basically just buying little bits by day, because I don't know where this thing's gonna go, if it's gonna stay up or if it's gonna come back down. But I want to have capital if it does come back down, so I'm not blowing my wad while it's in this ranging area. So I'm really just going to be watching the top of this range, see if Bitcoin gets rejected. As of right now, it is getting rejected. So far it's made a lower high, but again, it's only Tuesday, so we'll see how the rest of the week pans out. If we zoom in, I look at the Coinbase chart. Got kind of a more in-depth analysis on like the 4-hour chart, what I've been looking at. I think this could be a bear flag for Bitcoin. As you can see, this was a nice like inverse head and shoulders pattern. But this is that level, that mid-range level right here that I was talking on the zoomed out chart, on the weekly chart. And as you can see, it's been a major level. We tested it multiple times on both sides of the spectrum. Got above it, tested the outside of the bottom of this flag, you could say. Came back down, tested this bottom, and now we're back up in the middle of the flag. I could see us pumping all the way up to the 7.5, 7.7 range, to be honest with you guys. Test the top of this range and then maybe make our way back down. But so far it's struggling to get above this high, this previous high, and we'll see. It's probably going to come back down and at least test the top of this consolidation range, and if not, test that mid-range level. And then if it falls below that, I'm looking to buy the bottom of this wick around that 4,400, and then I'll have bids set around that 3,800 bottom level as well. But again, I think the range is going to be somewhere around that like 7K to 5.3K. I think we're going to range for a little while. As of right now, things look very bullish. If you don't have an allocation yet below where we were at, a month ago, now might be a good time to start averaging in. I don't know. Depends on your situation. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm looking to buy. Pullbacks are for buying for me. The narrative is strong for Bitcoin right now, I'll tell you that much. With all the money printing, I heard the Fed was talking about a digital dollar. I'll tell you what, if they create a digital dollar, we need to start thinking about the surveillance, the seizability. Are they going to be able to shut my bank account off because they control the digital dollar? How's that all going to work? I would much rather have a non-sovereign, decentralized, store of value like Bitcoin, where I know that nobody can fuck with it or its monetary policy. So anyways, liberate your money. This is the new podcast. I hope you guys like it. I'm excited for Bitcoin. If you guys got any questions, let me know. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Alright, peace out.
She got a choice. What did she do? She waited, 'cause she's afraid to choose. She got a choice.